Hi, everybody. My name is Russ Qualia, and I am the director of the Qualia Institute for School Voice and Aspirations. I am honored to be with you today. Of course, I would have been more honored if I was there in person, but so be it. We're making the best of this situation that we can do, and at the same time, sharing what we know about voice and aspirations and the power that that has to create students as partners. I'm joined by my colleague, Michelle Brate, who is actually on the West Coast. I am coming to you from Maine, which is the upper northeast of the United States, and Michelle will be coming to you from the West Coast. Michelle is an associate member of the Qualia Institute, as well as a teacher for the Los Angeles Unified School District. We're going to be hearing from Michelle in just a minute. Over the next 20 minutes or so, what we want to do is share with you our beliefs and passion around the power of student voice and how student voice will create and allow students to be real partners in the educational system to improve the teaching and learning environment. Similar to your mantra of the conference of listen and learn, our mantra is listen, learn, and lead. Listen to the voices of students. Learn from what they're saying, and lead together to make a difference. Over the next 20 minutes, we want to share with you our thoughts regarding students as partners. Specifically, we want to address the power and potential of student voice. Before we jump in, I want to turn it over to Michelle so she can share a little bit about herself, and then we'll get right into it, because there is nothing more humbling than when you can talk about your entire life's work, 40 years worth of work in 15, 20 minutes. But before we do, Michelle, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Q, for that wonderful introduction. My name is Michelle Brate, and I'm truly honored to be here with you all today. I'm particularly excited to speak with you all because I was actually a Teach for America Corps member myself. I sought out Teach for America because, like Teach for India, I so deeply believe in the importance of access and equity for all students. Through my Teach for America experience, I deepened my understanding of what it means and what it will take to close the achievement and opportunity gap that exists around the world. And as Dr. Q mentioned, I am serving this mission from sunny Los Angeles, California. I'm a proud special education teacher in the Los Angeles Unified School District, and I am also the aspirations coordinator at my school. Through my work with Teach for America, working with my students and the Qualia Institute, I have truly found that student voice is the gateway towards educational equity. Working with students in marginalized populations, I have found that student voice is the pathway towards allowing students to be leaders and partners in their educational experience. With that being said, I'm so excited for you all to share the same passion around student voice, so I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Q to let him get us started.
Thanks, Michelle. Let's jump right in. If we want students to be partners, we must first understand the power of their voice. Because to be a partner, to the students to be a partner with us, we have to hear what they have to say. They've got to be willing to share what they have to say. But here's one of the things around voice that gets confusing for people, and it creates a little bit of animosity, for lack of a better word. We don't have a clear definition that we understand. So often we hear about voice, about sharing ideas and thoughts. And yes, absolutely, that's a key component to it. But there is more to it. We look at student voices having three essential components. The first one is, yes, the ability to share ideas and thoughts that are meaningful, that make a difference, that's shared in an environment built on trust and respect. The second component is offering realistic suggestions for the good of the whole. So the first component is, yes, I need to share my thoughts and ideas, but the second component of voice is that I am also going to share realistic suggestions for the good of the whole. Now, what does that do? It takes the concept of yapping into some practicality. So I'm going to share my thoughts, but I will also share with you what I think needs to be done differently, not just for myself, but for the good of the whole. And the third component of student voice is accepting responsibility for not only what is being said, but what needs to be done. So when we look at student voice as the definition, which is the absolute initial step of creating students as partners, we need to understand, and students need to understand, that voice is more, a lot more than just sharing thoughts and ideas. It's, yes, sharing thoughts and ideas, thinking for the good of the whole, offering realistic suggestions, and then taking responsibility for what needs to happen next. Now, there's the definition. And let's make this quantum assumption that, oh yeah, I get the definition. This makes sense. I need to understand that. My students need to understand that that's what I mean by student voice, not just whining and complaining, but it is much more than that. So assuming that we have a grounding in the definition, a basic understanding, the next important step is to understand the process. How does that definition come to a realization? What is the student voice process? Michelle's going to share that process with us right now. Michelle?
Thanks, Dr. Q. Yes, we must all begin this work with a common understanding of what student voice truly is. Student voice is when students share their thoughts and ideas in a space and environment that is underpinned by trust and respect. But student voice is also students offering realistic suggestions that consider the good of the whole. And then student voice is students not only taking responsibility for what they say, but what also needs to be done. Now, in order to operationalize this definition and help students become partners, leaders, and change makers in their education, adults and students must understand the student voice process. We look at the student voice process through the process of listen, learn, and lead. You'll notice that the process takes on a pyramid-like shape with listening sitting as the foundation. It's easy to think that voice is all about talking and leading, but it indeed begins with listening. In order to amplify student voice, students and adults must first listen to those around them. The listening component is about seeking out the opinions of others, listening with the intent to understand, assuming the best intentions, trusting those that you are working with, sharing airtime, and being open to ideas that might be different or even contradict your own. Listening is critical to building students as partners, as it opens the door for all voices to be heard. The next step in this process is learn. It is here where we begin to understand and respect different opinions. When we genuinely listen to others, we are able to understand new ideas, ask questions, expand our thinking, and embrace new perspectives. It is during this process that relationships are built. When embracing students as partners, it is imperative that trusting relationships are built. People are more willing and open to share their ideas when they have a trusting relationship with someone, when they know that they can speak without judgment, when they know that someone truly wants to learn from what they are sharing. Students must know that their ideas are heard and valued. They must know and feel that adults are willing and want to learn from them. Once we have listened and learned from others, it is then when we are ready to embrace the final component of the student voice process, lead. Now, it's very easy to think that this is the point when the adults or students completely take over to make things happen. Quite the contrary. When we look at the leading component, we look at taking action with others. We look at partnering with students. We look at taking action with others. We look at partnering with students and providing students with the opportunity to take responsibility for what needs to be done. It is here where ideas are generated, solutions are created, and action plans are created. Voice, while at first glance might seem simple, takes on a very intentional process that requires both adults and students to think beyond themselves. It challenges adults and students to grow, to push themselves out of their comfort zones, and to empower others. Without question, the voice process is critical to amplifying student voice. It is the pathway to partnering with students.
Clearly, student voice in ensuring students as partners in the teaching and learning environment is incredibly complex. It's not easy. We just automatically can't say, oh, there's the definition, there's the process, let's just make it happen. What we can never forget when we think about the definition and the process to operationalize that definition is the absolute and utmost important that we're listening to all students. This isn't just about student council. It's not just the students that can articulate a vision incredibly clearly. It's not the students that are outspoken or overconfident. It's every student. Students with special needs, students that can't communicate, students that are afraid to communicate. How are we reaching those students? because student voice is the whole. It's the collective. It's not specific student voice, or we be the institute for some student voice. No, we're the institute for all students to have a voice. They're going to express it differently, but it's critical as we're moving forward to understand that all students have a voice, and we need to be incredibly purposeful to go after that voice and listen to it, to see their voice in some cases, not just hear it, but to be active participants as we gather. What are they thinking? Why are students thinking that way? And what do they want to see differently that not only I need to take responsibility for, but that they can take responsibility for as well. Hence the true partnership. Michelle's going to share with us some hands-on ideas and activities that not only ensure student voice, but moves us in the direction as students, as real partners. Michelle?
Thanks, Dr. Q. Yes, student voice is not a one-off activity. It's not a standalone lesson. It's not a designated time of the day. Student voice must become a way of being inside and outside of the classroom. I'd like to share a few ideas and suggestions of ways that you can honor and differentiate the way that you seek out and hear the voices of all students. Work collaboratively with students to establish the rules and norms of a classroom. Rather than having a teacher decide what norms and behaviors are important and critical to student learning, have students and teachers partner to set expectations for an engaging, welcoming, inclusive, and successful classroom. From the start, it sets the tone for a classroom based on partnership. Create a consistent space for all students to come and express their ideas and suggestions, and partner with adults to create solutions to their ideas. This is separate from a leadership program. There's no application for voice. All students have a voice. We must actively seek out students from all parts of the school campus to ensure that we are hearing all voices. We know that nowadays students understand and know technology better than we all do. Create a technology team where the students actually lead the professional development in technology for your staff. Work with students to plan events on campus that increase a sense of belonging and pride. Work with students, don't create them yourself. We challenge you to develop lessons with students and co-teach with students. When students feel the ownership in their learning, they have a stronger sense of purpose and engagement. As teachers, we are constantly assessing and analyzing our own practice and instruction. Take the time to partner with students and ask them how things are going. Have them reflect on their own learning and the classroom environment. What's going well, what could be improved, and how can you partner together to make that happen? Finally, I want to address the importance of amplifying the voices of English language learners and students with special needs. We provide scaffolds to students to help them express their ideas, provide graphics, graphic organizers, translations, and multimodal ways to hear their thoughts and ideas. We must not forget that voice is not the same thing as volume. There are endless ways to express your voice, and it's our job as educators to create equitable opportunities to seek out and hear those voices.
Those are great ideas, Michelle. Thanks. I know they sound pretty easy. Well, not really easy. But as we know, they take time. They take commitment to take these suggestions and put them into place. You should be asking yourself at this point, why is student voice so important? Why are we zooming somebody in here from the state of Maine and the state of California all the way to India to share us about student voice? Yeah, it's a cool thing. I might have read a book about it. Yeah, there's some decent research out there. But here's the real reason that we want student voice. Not just because it's the absolute right thing to do, and it makes good common sense that we take advantage of our greatest resource, the students. But there's some real data behind this work, some real data. So for example, when students have a voice, they are 3 times more likely to have greater self-worth in schools. 3 times more likely to feel better about themselves in school. When students believe they have a voice, they are 5 times more likely to be meaningfully engaged in their learning. Yeah, just think of that. 5 times more likely to be meaningfully engaged in their learning. And if students have a voice, or they perceive they have a voice, they're 5 times have greater purpose in their learning. In other words, they know why they're there. They feel part of the process. They feel that learning is about them, not about something being done to them, but with them. Hence the point of students as partners. It is impossible for students to be partners in our educational system if we don't recognize and celebrate, listen to, and learn from the voices of students. So, let's finish with 3 important takeaways from this brief session. Michelle, why don't you start us off with the first one?
First and foremost, we must begin this work with a common understanding of the definition of student voice. Again, student voice is about students sharing their thoughts and ideas in an environment that is underpinned by trust and respect, students sharing realistic suggestions that consider the good of the whole, and then students taking responsibility and action on what needs to be done. Without a common understanding of the definition of student voice, it will be nearly impossible to seamlessly move forward and partner with one another.
Now, once we've agreed upon an understanding of the definition of voice, as Michelle said, the most important concept actually is that it's hard to move forward if we don't even have an agreed upon definition. But once that's in place, the second takeaway from today needs to be that we need to believe that students have something to teach us. It is amazing to me how often I hear people say, "Oh, I want to hear the voices of students," yet fail to listen to what they're saying, fail to learn of what they're saying and why they're saying it and what can we do differently together. So the second takeaway from today is believe that students have something to teach you.
Finally, moving forward together as partners and shared responsibility for what needs to be done is the best and only way forward. If we're truly trying to create equity and access for all students, we need to be willing to work with students. We need to listen to them, we need to learn from them, and we need to lead with them. Teacher-centered instruction and top-down decision-making is a thing of the past. Partnership can truly unlock incredible pathways to change.
Thanks, Michelle. Wow, we did not think we could do it. Yep, that's right. We did not think we could talk about our entire life's work in 20 minutes, but clearly we have. So thank you for listening. Michelle, thank you so much for making the time and putting this piece together for everyone. It's critically important. It's critically important. Clearly, there is a lot more for all of us to share around voice and to learn together. We have barely scratched the surface, but again, taking away the notion of I need to have a definition, I need to understand the process in which that definition can operate is really a step forward. We hope that we piqued your interest about student voice and the power that has to create students as partners. We believe it's the best and most solid way to move forward in our quest to improve education. Michelle and I want to leave you though with a few questions, which really will act as a reflection to who we are and what we think around voice. The first one is, are you ready to listen and learn from students? Are you ready to listen and learn from students? Are you ready to be surprised by what you hear? And are you ready to take action? If you can answer yes to those 3 questions, then you are ready to move forward with student voice. You are ready, willing, and seemingly able to have students as partners in this educational learning environment. If you'd like more information about our work, please visit us at our website, qualiainstitute.org. So qualiainstitute.org. On that website, you'll see our research. You'll see services that we offer. You'll see surveys. You'll see articles that we've written. A lot of information is right there. You'll see lesson plans about how to support student voice. All right for you, downloadable, super easy. So again, on behalf of Michelle and our entire staff at the Qualia Institute, we wish you good luck in your quest around creating students as partners, in your belief and value of the importance of student voice. Thanks for the opportunity to share this work with you, and stay healthy.